Woo! This is some fire lore, y'all. Like, I'm telling you. Y'all think, like, Destiny's all about, like, shooting stuff and adventures and strikes? Like, no. This is where the heat of the story is. Alright, so. There we are, recording with a brand new episode of the Bird Up Show, everybody. I'm your host, Birdman Jones. Welcome to the show. And today, we will be streaming Destiny 2. We're going to do a little bit of a lore catch-up. We're going to do a lore read-along. And y'all are here with it. I appreciate you. For today's stream, we're actually going to go more into this one here. So we can do a little bit of a lore read-along. Discuss some topics in the lore. Catch up with what's going on in the story. Because quite a lot is happening very soon. Within, I'd say, actually a month. Yes, within a month, we will have the new DLC. We'll have new lore. We will have new adventures. And I think it's very important for us to catch up. Come here, little ones, as I tell you a tale about the darkness and the light. Here, pet my chicken. It's the Halloween event. Of course, I already have my chicken mask. Of course, the bird already has his mask. Caw, caw, caw. Here, pet my chicken. Ooh, do a little dance. Make a little love. Sit down tonight. Hey, everyone, pull up a chair as we tell you a tale about space magic. All right, let's get to it. We're going to go with the light. We're going to go with Duress and Egress. Duress and Egress, this is the story of what is happening this season, and let's just hop right into it. All right. Book 1, Asher, Observation. Details. Man of science though he was, the first thing Asher did was shoot the damn thing. The pyramid hovered inside Io's atmosphere, close enough to be impacted by a projectile flung at sufficient speed. In the time it took Asher to blink twice, he knew the angle of attack and the mass of the projectile. Asher finished building the mounted railgun before his coffee had cooled. He charged the magnetic coils, waited for the wind to die down, and broadsided the ship. He had expected the projectile to hit a kinetic barrier, or best case scenario. Asher's brow furrowed, while an irrepressible smile crept over his face. His metal arm clicked and hummed gently of its own accord. The pyramid had the audacity to park in front of his laboratory and pull such a cheap trick. Clearly, he had not thought it would meet Asher. He assembled another missile, one with a detectable radiation signal, and he fired it at the pyramid. It similarly disappeared on impact, its signals snuffed out, no longer detectable from Io's surface. Another payload followed, this one a miniature relay station. He routed it through his console and fired. At the moment it touched the pyramid, it transmitted a spike of radiation of radio broadcast. Asher smirked. They were still there, held in the field of the pyramid, visually undetectable signals squelched, but still physically there. How the pyramid was accomplishing this feat was unimportant at the moment, though his mind flooded with fantasies of zero-point energy. The question that gave him pause was the what. The question that gave him pause was the what. What was the ship doing to the projectiles as they sat suspended in space in the periphery of its loathsome shape, and why? In summary, this is the story of when the pyramid very first arrived on Io. Actually, we can make it a little bit more. It's like I really am just sitting here telling the story. Okay, so Asher is the NPC of this planet here, Io. Io now has a pyramid on it, which you can see there are pyramids on all of the planets that will be deleted come this November. So, pyramid ship gets to Io. Asher Mir's been there for centuries, researching the Vex. He also has a Vex arm. We're not going to go into that right now. It's a whole long story with a lot of backstory. But the point is, he is the Dexter's Laboratory character in the Destiny universe. Ship comes to his planet, right? He immediately fires at the ship. Doesn't even plan, like, oh no, I'm not going to destroy it. I just want to see what happens. So whenever he shoots at the ship, the projectiles don't hit a wall. They don't explode. They don't, get rebounded by whatever energy. They just disappear. So what I believe to be happening is somehow the black ships are able to use Vex time manipulation technology, and what they're doing is either freezing it in time or transferring it through Vex tech through another point in time where it reemerges where the ship is not there, which means that they can be damaged. We just need to find a way through this technology, this barrier that they have. I think we're actually going to do that in the next DLC. It looks like we're going inside the pyramid ship, so that'll be pretty cool. Anyways, back at it. Next one. Sloane, Overseer. Deputy Commander Sloane watched the overloaded Vanguard skiff dip close to the waves. "Watch it," she barked into the communicator, and the craft straightened out. Wait, who's playing? Oh, Jimmy Boy's on Destiny 2? That's what's up. "That's liquid methane down there, and if it don't kill you, the Leviathan will." "Come on, ain't no Leviathan," said the pilot, his voice crackling. He was some boy from the city who couldn't have been more than 17 years old. "And if that's methane, how come you don't even got a helmet on?" Sloane grinned. She wasn't used to backtalk. "Because I moisturized, short timer," Sloane said and squelched the comms. A fallen ketch screamed overhead, and Sloane was on the catwalk outside the rig in a flash. She bellowed at men working at the deck to cover clear working on the deck to cover clear of the cargo as she drew her scout rifle and dropped to a knee. First few dregs were dead before they hit the ground. Pachoo, pachoo, pachoo. But the winds whipping off the seas sent her next shots wide. She figured the landing party would go for the cargo shuttle over her men, so she spun to take a slight line toward the craft, but the things were charging for the supplies instead. She cursed and leapt over the railing, landing like a crash of lightning. Her earpiece sprang to life. "Sirens watch! This is supply craft Vienna Stinger looking for a place to put down." "Landing pad 5, south side," she shouted over the crack of her rifle. "Offload what you brought and I'll have a supply team swing by in a minute." This is awesome. Like she's in the middle of a battle. Pachoo, pachoo, pachoo. "Hey, we're here to rescue you." "Park on the south side. I'll be there in a second." Basically what Sloane said. She plugged 2 more dregs and the ketch's engines.
If you're here for shaders, I'm afraid
She plugged 2 more dregs and the ketch's engines changed from a roar to a whine. A half-hearted volley of wire rifle fire spattered the landing pad from the ketch as it blasted away. Sloane called out to her team. No fatalities. Nothing taken but 2 crates of fresh supplies. She ordered the team to the next landing pad and began climbing the long stairs back to her perch. They hadn't hit while they were loading the Golden Age technology for a shipment back to the city. They were after the supplies. They were leaving. She looked up at the pyramid in the sky and frowned. The door to her office closed and sealed with a hiss. A soft blue light on the panel promised that the seal was airtight. Sloane walked across the room to watch the seas through the open hole blown in the side of her rig. Wow. So basically, while Sloane is meeting the pyramid ships while they're landing on Titan, which again, Titan is this planet. Oh, sorry.
Any questions?
This planet right here. And not only does she meet the pyramid ships at the same time as she gets attacked by some fallen dregs who steal some of her supplies, but apparently she has something a little bit more powerful on board. I don't know. We'll get to it. All right. Cool. Anna Frayed. Oh, that's a play on her name, Anna Bray. Okay, Anna. Anna Bray. This is a story on Mars of Anna Bray. Basically, she's the daughter of someone important in Braytech Industries, and we're gonna leave it at that. Oh, and she also is translator to Rasputin, which is a AI protecting the solar system, kinda. All right. She had tried everything, the great Bray. A lineage that promised. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that sound effect. What's up, y'all? Thanks for tuning in. Alright, I'm going to continue with this lore story. She had tried everything, the Great Bray, a lineage that promised to save them. For all her genius and moxie, this was beyond her. Rasputin lay dying, and a dozen empty screens splayed out around Anna's command station. Okay, so this is immediately after the attack on Rasputin. Rasputin just got shut down. He was supposed to be the savior of the galaxy. We spent all season 10 amping him up. Wait, season 10? Season 9, 10, whatever, the last season. Amping him up so he could fight the darkness, and he didn't. They smacked him. Alright, so I guess this is right after he got smacked. Rasputin lay dying, and a dozen empty screens splayed out around Anna's command station. She could visualize the bleeding code running through her fingers. Zavala's voice was in her ear as ambient haze. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Relegated to the background of her mind like distant gunfire. The image of the pyramid's distortion wave was still raw. This wasn't an attack. It was a command. A lazy dismissal of their best laid plans. In other words, the darkness ships did not attack Rasputin. They were able to issue some... Oh my god. I love that sound. Oh man. Oh yeah. Point is, darkness just completely dismissed Rasputin. There was like not even a fly to them. There were no explosions. No blaring sirens or sparks of dramatic electricity. Nothing to combat or fix. Just a guardian walled in silent black glass and disbelief. She had been so sure. Anna's eyes tracked Jinju as the ghost sped towards the console to console. Jinju's Anna's ghost. She's a guardian, so that's her. The ghost is like your companion that keeps you alive and is your link to the light. They also are AI. Okay. Anna. Jinju's voice strained under crushing distortion. I think I've got him. Most of him, but not for long. The words cut through the distant gunfire. What? Anna asked. Her voice came softly at first, unsure what form to take as the information processed. What? Jinju groaned and whispered as exasperated. Pillory. Engram. It's not ready. Anna, now! He'll go insane. I can't. The light tethers attached to Jinju began to pop one by one. It's this or nothing. The prospect sent Anna tearing across the room. She belted a command into the air, and the floor safe opened in response. Anna snatched the dodecahedron enclosure from the safe and braced it in front of Jinju. Jinju, do it! The ghost shell reformed to form a directing structure before her core erupted with light and data. A stream of pure information beamed into the engram, filling it with spiraling wisps of light. Did you? As much as I could. Outside the windows, bolts of atmospheric friction dragged flames through the sky as warsats plummeted from low-orbit defensive positions. Their impacts were distant. Woo! This is some fire lore, y'all. Like, I'm telling you. Y'all think, like, Destiny's all about, like, shooting stuff and adventures and strikes? Like, no. This is where the heat of the story is. Alright, so this is some really, really fire lore. Because, basically, Rasputin, who we spent, what, 3 DLCs at least on him. So, long story short, Rasputin, when... all right, let's go way back in time. We're going to go way back before the light even came to Earth, all right? So, mankind is starting to... mankind discovers the Traveler. Traveler comes to Earth. Traveler gives power, life, longevity, science, all kind of stuff to the human race, right? So, mankind is like, we're going to create the super AI to take care of mankind just in case something happens and humans can't or won't act. Those are called war minds. Rasputin was one of 7 war minds. They never really said what happened to the others. Blah, blah, blah. Darkness comes, wipes everybody, kills everybody. Rasputin is the only survivor to survive the attack on the darkness. They kind of hinted that maybe he made a deal with the darkness. We haven't really gone into that. I'm really hoping this next DLC gives us some news on that. So, Rasputin, only survivor from the attack on the darkness. only one who maybe might be able to save us, because if he survived an attack on the darkness, maybe he at least can help us fight back this time, because the darkness is back. That's what this whole 5-6 years has been about. So Rasputin shows up the darkness shows up on Rasputin's doorstep. Rasputin shoots all of his lasers, all his weapons at the darkness. Darkness just goes.
Did you
Shut down.
miss me?
Rasputin. That's literally it. So we didn't know if he was dead or what happened, but apparently, like, his code was severely damaged, but parts of him are the majority of his core AI kernel, you could say, is still intact. So basically, what is happening here is the station that Anna Bray was at. They're trying to download Rasputin into an engram. An engram is what all your weapons, all your armor, everything comes in. It's a storage device made from the Golden Age, roughly about this big. It's dodecahedron, means it has, I want to say 10 sides. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so Rasputin is safe. That's the whole point of this lore excerpt here. Rasputin is safe. They got as much as they could, and we'll see. I'm really hoping that they insert him into a new body next DLC, because we are going to the Deepstone Crypt, the birthplace of Rasputin, and the Exos, which I am an Exo Warlock, by the way. Next lore, and we're about to go into our next lore story. Man, do we have like a lot? Oh, okay, yeah, we'll get to it. Vance, Canary. This one is Brother Vance. He is a pupil, kind of pupil of Osiris, and his planet is here, Mercury, the smallest, worst planet that I'm so glad it's going away. Honestly, I'm cool with these 3 planets going away. I did kind of like Mars. It is what it is. Back to the lore. Back to the lore. I went back to New York. Back to the lore. I went back to New York. Why did we run? We're running out of time. Sorry, that song is super catchy. All right. Brother Vance's smile fell as the Titan entered his sanctum. The smell was unmistakable. Ancient gunpowder, burnt oil, scorched Vex fluid. The burnt tang of steel overused through 100 lifetimes. You have the perfect paradox, Vance said, his voice as steady as he could manage. He extends his hands. May I? Okay, so they just say Titan. They don't really say who. But clearly he's talking to Saint 14. Thank you. God, I knew his face and everything. He's talking to Saint 14. They didn't clearly say that, but I just want to clear that up, who we're talking to in the lore here. So Brother Vance having a conversation with Saint 14. They're kind of friends. Not really. All right. He ran his fingers over the barrel and tested the weight of the stock. Ah, he said. Not the original perfect paradox, is it? The Titan stood in confusion. Vance waited for a moment, with his head tilted before he continued. You did not claim this weapon from the tomb of Saint 14, but instead through some fractaline-powered tesseract, yes?
We are strongest.
That basically means the story of this gun is we get the gun from his tomb, go back in time, and give it to him. So we gave him the gun, even though he gave us the gun. We give him the gun. It's like that type of cycle. Through a fractaline powered tesseract. That basically means we use Vex tech to time travel, and that's how we gave him the gun. This is not the original gun, it's the time travel gun. So that's what he's saying here. Titan nodded, then stood for a long moment, looking at the blind man. That sundial made it. The sundial from like season 7. That he's right. Vance's grip tightened on the gun. It was heavy, loaded with 8 shells. Tactical mag. Getting this one had taken some time. And how many timelines did you thoughtlessly tether to our own for this weapon? Our world now bears the strain of how many additional realities in exchange for this hollow abomination? Vance's mind swam at the thought of infinite web that pulled on the shotgun. How much fractaline did you sacrifice for this? 400 fragments? More? It's got a trench barrel, Titan said helpfully. Remove yourself from my sanctum, Vance said, placing the shotgun down like a dead animal. You have accelerated the end of all things, and I must update my prophecies accordingly. That's exactly what he did. Fractaline means we are drawing from the power of other timelines in order to make a weapon in our timeline that did not originally exist. We're not creating mass, just like you cannot create or destroy mass. We're just borrowing it from other timelines. But because we're borrowing that, any negative, like world-ending stuff that's going on in those timelines kind of sleeps into ours. And this here is kind of a joke. 400 fragments? No. Try 7 billion fragments. That's how many we sacrificed. So,
I imagine
you know.
it must be terribly exciting.
All right. Asher, prediction. Guess we're back to Asher Mir now.
We'll always
Asher Mir
try
cursed
to
his way
go
across
beyond
Io.
this.
As he picked his way across the rocky outcrops, he cursed the loose soil underfoot, cursed his oversized pack, cursed the roving taken, cursed the kick of his silicon aroma rifle against his shoulder. He looked up at the pyramid, funneling its foul energy down into the cradle, and sneered. The cradle is the place where the traveler touched down last, which was on Io. It's kind of the whole draw of that planet before it came to Earth. Sorry. He looked up at the funneling its foul energies into the cradle and sneered. Well read as he was, he didn't have the energy to arrange the required words. It was late during what passed for night on Io, and while Asher was tired, he hiked on diligently. He stopped only once, briefly, to study a snail whose shell was growing tiny clusters of crystalline black obelisks, meaning even the nature of that planet is being affected by the darkness in the Taken. He crept down through the cavernous spaces between the cradle. Unfamiliar roots protruded from the earthen walls. He calmly observed the pattern of a twitching shrieker, and he calculated Ricochet sent a band of Taken roaring down the wrong pathway. He passed unmolested. Eris was in her meager camp near the twisted roots of the enormous tree. So Asher is leaving his workstation underneath the Pyramidion created by the Vex, the thing that turned his arm into a Vex arm. He's leaving that, first time in hundreds of years, to go down into the pit to have a conversation with Eris Morn. Eris was in her meager camp near the twisted roots of the enormous tree. She knelt near a beam of light coming from far above, which filtered through the path of the tree to strike an unnatural splash of cambium petals. Asher noticed the smells of sap and burning cooking oil. She said she was pleased to see him, though when she sought to clarify the cadence of his supply drops, he felt she might be put off by the unexpected visit. As he unpacked what he had brought her, she explained the tree, the messages, the whispers, the thrilling struggle to glimpse the face of the unknown, even if that unknown may be trying to kill you. She was smiling as she spoke. Asher understood exactly what she meant. He rested by the fire. Nearby was a small table that held samples of hive chitin, clippings from the tree, ashy soil, and an open notebook that Asher saw was a personal journal, which he quickly flipped shut with distaste.
Or are you just here to chat?
He reached again into his pack. He brought forth a bottle of fine golden spirits, from when some towering ignoramus misunderstood his request for isopropyl alcohol, and placed it on the table. He had brought 2 clean glasses, nestled ridiculously in the boxing shippy case of a large, graduated cylinder. He removed one and placed it gently next to the bottle. I like how they're basically going into a really scientific way of saying Asher Mir left his workstation, went to visit Eris, brought some drinks for a good conversation. Asher coughed, replaced his boots, then stood and shouldered his pack. You have things taken care of, yes? He said to Eris. Certainly, she said, intent on the beam of swirling light. He shifted and made a little noise in his throat. I need to know that things will be taken care of, he said clearly. Eris looked over and considered the man standing across from her. To the best of my ability, she finally said. Asher nodded and began his long walk back. Oh, man, this is some hot fire. This is some hot fire. Like, if you're watching this stream falling asleep right now, you don't know what good content is. This is some stuff. Yo, Asher Mir has not left his workstation in centuries. He has been relentlessly pursuing the Vex on that planet because they took his arm, they killed his fire team, they took everything from him except science. And he just plunged into science as a means to fight the Vex and control the Taken and help us. But now he sees that there's a greater threat. He already fired something at the ship and they disappeared, calling back to the last story we just said like an hour ago. So he fired shots at the ship. They disappeared, they're caught in time, or they're moving through time to a point where the ship is not there. So it's kind of like projectile comes here, here's the ship, disappears, maybe is sent to, let's say, the future, where the darkness is already won, there's nothing there anyway. So in the future, it comes out where the ship was not. I don't know if that's exactly how it works. I'm just guesstimating, but after all that, he goes down, visits Eris. Eris is his best friend. Kinda. Sort of. Basically, they're best friends. And this conversation right here, like, this is all science that says he's coming down from the mountain to the cradle. And here says that he had potentially his last conversation with Eris Morn. You have things taken care of, yes. The way he speaks and the way Eris Morn speaks, like, this is deep. This is deep. Because he takes care of everything. He doesn't ask people, hey, you got stuff? No, I got it. I got science. He's like, can you take care of things? Certainly. I need to know that things will be taken care of. I need to know that things will be taken care of. Meaning he might die. I think he's going to fight. I think he's going to fight the pyramid ships alone. Next story, Sloane, Wavebreaker. Deputy Commander Sloane was in a foul mood, and Amanda Holliday, bless her heart, had no idea. Titan's waves crashed relentlessly against the massive support struts of Siren's Watch, where things were different. A crew would be down there right now, swinging between the mammoth legs, working to repair and stabilize. But things weren't different. You can throw together a box grinder and reinforce it? No problem. You can, I can't, said Sloane. While she had built a few walls, Amanda had an enviable engineering background to fall back on, though it seemed she wasn't much of a teacher. Amanda's hologram slurped ramen. How long do you need it to last for? Long enough to get it out of my mind, said Sloane. Since it started wobbling, I haven't even had time to worry about the pyramid. Small favors, chirped Amanda. Sloane ran a hand through her coarse hair. Come on, Amanda groaned. You're sitting on the mess of the Golden Age technology on Titan. There's got to be an engram with a bridge inside it. Sloane stared flatly. That might actually be true, but Sloane didn't have time to hunt for lost technologies. Make a wavebreaker then, tetrapods bolted against the strut, or better yet, something out on the sea to break the wave early. If you can't take it when it hits you, you go out and hit it before it gets started. Like this! Amanda leaned forward and did something to her ramen bowl. Sloane couldn't see. That's how I eat ramen, y'all. You like that slow-mo? It's pretty good. You're not looking, Amanda said, and tilted her bowl forward just enough to spill broth over her desk. She cried out with laughter. I'm hanging up now, said Sloane, after a cheery wave at Amanda's melodramatic pout. She did. The hologram faded out, leaving Sloane in the dark. She stayed there for a long time. Sloane's having issues. The waves on Titan are getting something fierce. Last time, the main weapon of the darkness is gravity. So there's a very strong chance that they're increasing, decreasing waves of gravity along the surface of this water planet, causing larger waves to try and kill everything on the surface. And at some point, I'm guessing probably the gravity is going to rip the planet in half. We'll get there. It's a good little story. Stories between friends towards the end. Next, back to Anna Bray. Physics. Zavala set down 2 glasses. He watched Anna's face as he poured velvet-looking liquor and filled them. Her eyes were focused on the grains of his desk. How to be unobservant. They would fade away into the greater canvas of wood, indistinguishable from each other. The traveler hung behind him, buried in a darkening cloud, apart from the sky. I can't believe we lost, Anna said. We are not lost. Zavala pushed a glass towards Anna. I froze. We still don't even know if we saved anything, she said.
Never forget that.
It's not so easy to act in the face of defeat. The prospect of a future is something we have to keep in mind. Anna glared at Zavala. Nothing we do is supposed to be easy. Isn't that the point? This was a stress test, and I buckled. Faith, Anna. You remind me that we wrap ourselves in the doubt of past failures. Without you, the city would be ash and rubble more than once. Anna scooped the glass into her hand. She smelled the liquor, winced, placed it back on the table. You believed in me. Rasputin was my job. Yes, and he still is. A job for the future, Zavala said and sipped his drink. Now we have a new job. Eris needs our support. Tell me everything isn't over. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm not ready for this. Zavala's talking about Cade. Oh, okay. When Cade passed, I saw the fracturing of the Vanguard as a path toward inevitable failure. Still, it has proved impossible to fill his seat. I believed I would be too weak to lead without the balance added by his unique perspective. As it turns out, his life was but one in an eternity of choices. Oh, Zavala, shut up! Oh my... Don't even say Cade's name! Don't get his name out your mouth. Zavala, I don't want... Relax, I'm not offering you the job. Unless you killed Cade, and you have had the wrong man the whole time. If I did, would you forgive me? I'd understand. He said, oh my god. You would understand if Anna killed Cade. I'm gonna smack you, Zavala. Oh, I hope you die. I hope you die! Ugh. I'd understand, he said and smiled. Accord told me back then that an object in motion stays in motion. I've always admired the phrase, but I must admit it can be difficult to adhere to. Anna shook her head. That's just physics. A fundamental aspect of life. He watched Anna's mood lighten as she considered his words. We find the footholds we can, and we make the best step given the ground we have before us. Anna nodded. Whatever happened to Cade's chicken? Zavala sighed. I believe Saint has anointed it as some sort of pigeon lord. Yes, the colonel, the chicken, the colonel, man. Where this emote comes from, the colonel, the chicken. He's still around in the lore. Oh, that makes me happy.
We are strongest
It really
together.
does. Oops, facing the wrong way. Let's get a quick dance in. Yeah, get it. What? Yeah. Woo. Alright, back to story time. So, that was a good little story. I didn't mind it. That was pretty much it, right? Pigeon Lord. Anna's lockjaw melted into a smile. Life does not wait for us, no matter how long we live it. Drink your drink, Zavala chuckled, his glass to his face, before the Lord of Pigeons summons us to attack the pyramids. You should be attacking the pyramids. You haven't even done squat, Zavala. Whatever. Next story. Back to Brother Vance. The music rang clear and true. Brother Vance listened, his face a paroxysm of glory. It repeats, he whispered to himself, and the young warlock who was bent over the infinite forge, diligently crafting weapons from another age. She listened politely, but heard nothing. She went back to her task. Why do none pity the phoenix? Phoenix meaning Osiris. The warlock looked up, startled. Vance was across from her, though she had not noticed his approach. His question came with no preamble, as if the two had been in the midst of conversation. I'm sorry, offered the warlock. Endless rebirth, true, but each matched by a fiery death, Vance said. No sooner does it clean the ash from its feathers does it fall again to flame. The blind man turned and bathed his face in the glowing sunlight that streamed into the sanctum, and none speak of its song. The warlock thanked Vance for the use of his forge and stood to leave. You are more than welcome, he said without turning his head, though his vacant smile had grown kind. He gestured toward the tomes and scrolls on his desk. Help yourself to a prophecy, friend, he said. I have finally finished my studies. Vance is onto something. The tone is a reference. The music rang clear and true. Brother Vance listened to Paroxysm of Glory. It repeats. The tone that he's talking about is a musical note that plays when guardians die near, basically during the Trials of Osiris. When guardians die near the pillar, I'm forgetting the place. The thing at the top of the spire. When guardians die, it makes a weird sound that only Vance and some others can hear. And we're led to believe that it's actually built on maybe a seed of the darkness, and it's eating up power every time a guardian dies. Also, there was a lore bit when the Drifter was talking to Osiris, and he was saying he wanted nothing to do with what Osiris was working with. So that's some pretty dark stuff that's going on. I don't think the Vanguard even knows. Next story, Asher. Conclusion. As Asher Mir watched his assistant's ship tear into orbit for the last time, it occurred to him that he had not expressed how truly satisfactory he had found some of their work. He briefly entertained the thought of leaving a letter, but there were others more deserving of his thoughts, and if he worked in a descending priority, he might never make it to his assistant, which would defeat the purpose of the exercise completely. Instead, he went to the Pyramidion. The Vex are not born, yet not created. Desire to understand the conundrum brought to Asher to Io. He reasoned that the pyramid, with its alien resources and unknowable power, had likely come for the same purpose. The dark ship sought to take secrets of the Vex for itself. Exactly like they're doing with the time travel projectiles. But Asher Mir had already staked his claim, and he was prepared to defend it. He soon stood at the gate of the Pyramidion. The Vex security responded as he knew they would, as he was prepared. He piled their broken corpses on the plates and continued inside. So he soloed the entrance to the Pyramidion. It takes 3 of us to do that. He did it solo. He destroyed the first 100 Vex, then the second. A Minotaur roared into being before him and crushed its radiolarian core in his metal fist. He climbed forward over the clawing limbs. He slipped in the cooling rue of their dead fluid. Asher swallowed a mouthful of blood and kept going. He paused by a whirling gate and watched the aperiodic waves, then stepped through at the only possible moment. He walked steadily through laser grids that seemed to bend around him. He hung calmly in a gravitational tourbillon as the ground beneath him flickered and shifted madly. And the Vex began to observe. So just on this part right here, the Vex are throwing all of their armies, all of their tech, all their lasers, everything, and he is basically like Neo in the Matrix walking through them. That's exactly what's going on. And the Vex begin to observe. They're like, hold up, we could learn from this guy because he's kicking our asses, so maybe if we can do what he does. The corridors of the Pyramidion were lined with glowing red eyes. The metal mannequins stood dumbly, twitching, shuddering as Asher passed. So even the actual Vex bodies and cores are not attacking him. They're just going to watch and just see, what is he up to? We can't stop him. Let's see what he does. A familiar area unfolded before him, a cubist sinkhole reeking with the flat base stench of slate, mud, and bleach. He looked where the sky should be and found another impossible shape, another fractal contradiction. Far above him, placid in its Penrose vortex, the vast radiolarian lake lapped gently at the metallic shores. The man reached up to the lake with his metal arm. He then reached with his arm of flesh. He reached with both, and he brought the lake down. In other words, the Vex they know that his goal is to get to the lake. Sorry, the radiolarian lake. And they're trying to hide it from him. So they flipped time, reversed it, put it on the ceiling where it should be on the ground, and he saw through that, looked up, reached into the ceiling with his Vex arm, and then with his human arm, which he's sacrificing at this point, because if you touch radiolaria with your human, that's it. So he's sacrificing his arm, furthering his poison, his infection, doesn't care. I need the radiolaria lake. He's probably about to make a massive super weapon and shoot it against the pyramid ships. We'll see. Sloane Riastrad? Riastrad. After she watched the Guardian ship roar off Titan for the last time, Deputy Commander Sloane went into her office and put on Golden Age technology she had claimed from the Hive. The heavy power source hung from her shoulders like a bandolier. She draped it across her neck and stepped into the suit, vast and clumsy. As she bowed her head into the gray hood, a view screen appeared before her. She did not understand the language. Not yet, but chose the green option. With a hiss, the suit conformed to her shape. It was heavy, but she had full range of movement. She focused on her arm, concentrated, and the material scabbed into thick armored plates. That was something. She tried to form arc energy, but the suit blocked her light, or perhaps she would have to learn how to flex her light through the suit. She selected another option with her eyes, and selected again to confirm. There was no pain as she felt the suit snake a cold tube through her side and coil somewhere near her stomach. That answered a few of her questions. Sloane lurched outside. There was a storm, like Titan was trying to drive off the invader, but sat lazily in its sky. She walked into the gale, and the rain beaded on her second skin. Each step was easier than the last as the suit adjusted to her gait. A symbol flashed, and a hive thrall charged her. She gripped it by its neck and arm before tearing it apart. It was so easy. She laughed then, and the suit interpreted it as a battle cry and amplified it, broadcasted it. The sound echoed off the discarded shipping containers on the rainy landing pads, echoed through the siren's watch and up toward the pyramid. Lightning flashed in the sky, and the storm raged on. Sloane is basically fighting fire with fire. She found a hive artifact and just decided, hey, whatever, I'm just going to put it on. No big deal at all. So the parts up here where it's basically talking about armor growing on her, likely that armor is infused with a worm or has a worm or is a worm, especially this, no, where is it? This part. There's no pain as she felt a suit snake a cold tube through her side and coil somewhere near her stomach. That is a worm sucking her power dry, clearly. But, you do what you gotta do. This is like a cool bit of lore, but I feel like it's not really a threat to the pyramid ships, so we'll see.
Any questions, dear?
Last Anna story, Black Box. As Anna Bray watched the Guardian Sparrow rocket across Hellas Basin for the last time, she saw a confidant who had believed in her when no one else would. That faith Zavala had reminded her was a bond with more power than all the Warmind weapons in the system. It was a promise to go on, an agreement that there was still a future. Jinju had called it reverse salvage. She knew a thing or two about building something from the wreckage of their past. The building was nearly empty. She had sent as much tech to the tower as she could handle, an entire freight vessel's worth, packed to bursting. She turned to the large glass window overlooking silent Warsat cannons. There were no Cabal. The death buried beneath Mars had quieted. Valkyrie subordinates that could be maintained remotely remained active just in case. Jinju ran final checks on the jump ship. A dark pyramid loomed overhead. An experimental exo chassis was secured on the ship's cargo hold, 1 foot in front of the other. Anna is leaving Mars and coming to Earth. That's basically what the story is here. Saying goodbye and remembering the DLCs. That's what this reference to the ice and the death and Cabal and blah blah. Yeah, it's all DLC stuff. Whew. Wow, Triumph complete both parts of the Season of Arrival. I didn't finish it. Last Brother Vance story. After the Guardian left his sanctum for the last time, Brother Vance collected his few belongings and stepped onto the scorching surface of Mercury. He found the entrance to the Infinite Force easily, as though he had practiced the journey endlessly in his mind, because he had. This time he went through. The forest roared. He was struck by the dizzying void of it. The echoes made no sense. He took his first step into the hollowed place and fell to his knees, vomiting. By the way, this is the place we're actually about to go for the Halloween event. That's where he went right now. He struggled with his pack as a tempest beat on his eardrums. He withdrew his infinite simulacrum, impossibly small in this immense space, and with trembling fingers synchronized it to the frequency of the crack in the forest. It ticked like a metronome, and then silence. The forest was sealed. Tentatively, Vance felt his way across the enormous stone he stood on. At the same time, he skipped effortlessly from the stone as if he had done so countless times before. At the same time, he soared. He was moving in every direction, falling, laughing, singing, down every path, into every reality, spreading his message of hope. And the original, the true Vance, felt his infinite parallels erupt from him. He felt them bear him up as they passed. "Thank you," he said, wordlessly. Unable to breathe from joy, he felt 100,000 touches of reassurance. He found he was weeping. There, in the swirl of his golden echoes, Brother Vance lifted his voice and began his song. "Some hope for..." His own voice answered from behind. "The future." It continued. Vance leapt towards it. He recognized the feel of his own cloak, and his hands found its throat. Its form twisted, turning cold and sharp beneath his hands. It threw Vance on his back, but he held on. He pushed his hands up the thing's face, under its blindfold, and dug in with his thumbs. Sorry, wrong. Two-handed, got it. He threw Vance on his back, held on, pushed his hands up the thing's face, under its blindfold, and dug in with his thumbs. It was like this, Brother Vance. Brother Vance like this exactly. Like, wah! It howled. How unfortunate, Vance thought to himself behind his wide smile, that you still have eyes. Ha ha, I tricked you. The trick is, everybody thought that Vance had eyes, including the darkness, but he doesn't. He plucked them out a long time ago, but didn't tell anybody, and he wears a mask over his face, so that thing simulated him, came onto him as himself, which the darkness does. It appears as yourself, and he knew it was the darkness, and he found a way to beat it. And that's actually this kind of some hope for, and all this singing. I think he's trying to make up for all the time materials that we used in the last two seasons, in Season of the Dawn, to try to make up for our karma in the universe. And maybe we're only fighting what's in our universe instead of that and the karma of the others. That's it. We completed both parts of the Season of Arrival's exotic quest, which are Exodus, Preparation, and Evacuation. That's the lore. That's it. We did it. It was pretty good. I liked it. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Now, gonna go shoot stuff in the face. Shooting stuff in the face. Caw, caw, caw.